Once again, Thailand shocked the world with a dramatic strategic turn from a nation that once confronted Vietnam head-on, viewing it as an existential threat. Thailand suddenly announced a new vision, transforming Indochina from a battlefield into a marketplace. Why did this shift happen so quickly? Had Thailand stopped fearing Vietnam, or was this merely the next chapter in a billion-dollar geopolitical game, where Thai elites realized that profiting from an opening Vietnam was far more lucrative than fighting a hardened one? Today, we enter the most dramatic phase of this story. We will see how Thailand learned to extract enormous economic gains from its former enemy. But before we examine the transformation from gunfire to cash flow, we must revisit the brutal years along the border. Years when the line between righteousness and survival blurred under the pressure of national existence. Only then can we understand how Thailand pursued its dream of economic dominance. The moment the smoke cleared, are you ready to see how a newly opened Vietnam helped fuel the rise of Thai multinational corporations? Let us return to the turbulent 1990s and the roots of this historic shift. In May 1979, Vietnamese T-5 tanks rolled into Phnom Penh. This moment reshaped not only Cambodia's destiny but also Thailand's future. While the international community reacted in horror to reports of Khmer Rouge atrocities, leaders in Bangkok feared something else entirely. They were not primarily afraid of mass graves. They feared a powerful military force standing at their eastern doorstep. To understand why Thailand perceived Vietnam as a greater existential threat than the Khmer Rouge, we must examine the psychological and strategic thinking of Thai and Western elites at the time. The Khmer Rouge, despite its brutality, was ultimately a fragmented guerrilla force, poorly disciplined and consumed by internal purges. To Thai generals, Pol Pot resembled a dangerous but self-destructive neighbor. Troublesome, yes. Capable of destroying Thailand, no. Vietnam, however, was a completely different story. It was known as the Prussia of the East, a war machine forged through more than 3 decades of continuous conflict. It had defeated the world's strongest superpower and possessed modern weapons, experienced commanders, and unmatched combat morale. When this army crushed the Khmer Rouge in just 2 weeks, Thai leaders realized something terrifying. Their buffer zone had vanished. A glance at the map explains Thailand's anxiety. From the Cambodian border to central Bangkok lies over 200 kilometers of flat plains. No major mountain ranges, no large rivers, no natural defensive barriers. The area around Raniprathet was essentially an open gateway to the heart of the kingdom. Thai strategists understood the harsh reality. Given the speed Vietnam demonstrated in Cambodia, Vietnamese tanks could reach Bangkok in less than 24 hours. This was no longer a distant regional conflict. It was a looming invasion scenario. The imbalance in military experience was stark. Thailand's army was accustomed mainly to domestic counterinsurgency. Vietnam's divisions had fought some of the largest battles of the 20th century. This gap generated a nationwide fear syndrome, and it was intensified by another specter, the domino theory. In Bangkok's strategic imagination, Vietnam was not merely liberating Cambodia, it was constructing an Indochina Federation, led by Hanoi. Laos, Cambodia, and possibly Thailand would fall under its influence. Thailand, they believed, was the final domino. This fear was reinforced by internal threats. The Communist Party of Thailand was gaining momentum. A nightmare scenario took shape. Vietnamese forces would coordinate with domestic insurgents, launching a combined internal-external assault. The monarchy, military rule, and traditional culture would collapse. Faced with this existential threat, Thailand made a ruthless decision. It chose to cooperate with the Khmer Rouge, not out of sympathy, but out of survival. A hostile, weakened Cambodia under Pol Pot was seen as preferable to a stable Cambodia allied with Vietnam. The Khmer Rouge became a human shield, a thorn wall, a tool to drain Vietnamese resources in a prolonged guerrilla war. In Bangkok's calculus, morality was a luxury, survival was everything. As border clashes intensified, Thai leaders understood they could not stand alone. Fear transformed into strategic action. Thailand decided to internationalize its anxiety. It would turn its problem into the world's problem. Thus began the billion-dollar geopolitical game. Secret agreements, unexpected handshakes, silent alignments. Massive flows of aid and weapons began pouring into Bangkok. The confrontation would not be fought only with guns, but with diplomacy, sanctions, and economic pressure. Behind closed doors in Beijing and Washington, a new script was being written. Thailand was preparing not just to defend, but to attack on the diplomatic and economic front. After Phnom Penh fell, Thai leaders knew they needed powerful allies. Thus began one of the most ironic alliances of the Cold War. Three former enemies, Thailand, China, and the United States, joined forces. Their goal: contain Vietnam. The China Card. In May 1979, just days after Vietnam entered Cambodia, a secret Thai delegation flew to Beijing. Why China? Because China was the only power capable of exerting direct military pressure on Vietnam's northern border. Deng Xiaoping, pursuing modernization, saw Vietnam as a strategic rival. In closed meetings, a harsh bargain emerged. China would launch punitive operations against Vietnam. In return, Thailand would open its borders and serve as a logistics corridor for Khmer Rouge remnants. A Buddhist kingdom became a weapons transit hub for genocidal forces. It was a grim compromise, but Bangkok believed it was necessary. The American factor. The alliance would not work without the United States. After 1975, America suffered from Vietnam Syndrome and avoided direct intervention. However, Soviet naval expansion at Cam Ranh Bay alarmed Washington. Under National Security Advisor Zbigniew Brzezinski, a proxy strategy emerged. The U.S. would support Thailand financially and militarily. Billions of dollars flowed in. This aid was not only for weapons. It modernized Thailand's entire infrastructure. Highways, ports like Sattahep, logistics hubs, originally designed for military transport. They later became foundations for export-led growth. This, pact with the devil, transformed the Thai-Cambodian border into a zone of contradictions. Chinese weapons arrived in Thailand. Thai military trucks transported them to Raniprathit. From there, they flowed to Khmer Rouge remnants. For Bangkok's elites, ethics were irrelevant. This was classic containment strategy. By sustaining Khmer Rouge resistance, Thailand forced Vietnam into a costly quagmire. Vietnam bled manpower, resources, and international credibility. Each day the war continued was another day Thailand strengthened itself. Perhaps Thailand's most brilliant move was economic. While Vietnam suffered under embargoes, Thailand became the West's frontline state. It was portrayed as the guardian of the free world in Southeast Asia. This status attracted massive foreign investment. Japan, in particular, saw Thailand as safe, stable, and protected by American power. China, meanwhile, cut support to Thai communists in exchange for cooperation in Cambodia. Thailand eliminated internal rebellion. It received military aid, and it attracted industrial capital. Companies like Toyota and Sony invested heavily. Factories multiplied. Export zones expanded. Thailand's industrial miracle began here. Fear of Vietnam was transformed into geopolitical capital. But these shadow games provoked violent reactions. Vietnam responded with large-scale border operations. Artillery shells began falling on Thai villages. Direct clashes erupted. The specter of full-scale war loomed. Elite divisions faced each other in dense jungles. Minefields and bombardments tested endurance. The confrontation became a trial of will, not only for armies but for their sponsors. This was no longer limited warfare. It was a test of survival limits. What would Thailand do if Vietnam struck deep into its territory? How could it protect the fruits of its billion-dollar strategy? These questions defined the next phase. By the early 1980s, the Thai-Cambodian border became one of the world's hottest flashpoints. A single mistake could ignite regional war. Yet Thailand endured, not through military superiority, but through strategic flexibility. It turned weakness into diplomatic leverage. It used alliances to compensate for firepower gaps. It converted geopolitical risk into economic opportunity. And when Vietnam later opened its economy, Thailand was ready. Its corporations expanded aggressively. Banks, retailers, construction firms, and logistics companies poured into Indochina. The former battlefield became their marketplace. Thailand had learned the ultimate lesson. In geopolitics, survival is only the first step. Profit is the final goal. Behind Thailand's economic success lies a dark history of ruthless calculation. Deals with dictators, support for violent proxies, silent cooperation with superpowers. These choices saved the kingdom. They also shaped its modern identity. The Land of Smiles was built partly on fear, pragmatism, and moral compromise. As the guns fell silent and factories rose, few remembered the cost. But history remembers. And in the next episode, we will uncover how Thailand turned diplomatic survival into long-term regional dominance, and how this strategy continues to shape Southeast Asia today.